overlooked all the time, and it's knowing your season rep count. Now, what this means is when you're an athlete in track and field and you have 1, 2, 3, or 4 events, you need to know your plan for the season. And so let's say that you are doing 4 events. Let's say you're a sprinter, to make it super simple, right? You have the 100, the 200, and both relays, 4x4 and 4x1. Now, you need to know how many track meets are you going to be doing this season, right? From indoor season all the way to outdoor. And if you plan on going to the national showcases like Nike, Adidas, or New Balance, right? So, and USATF and AAU, okay? Now, it's important to know your rep count. If you are an athlete that can compete at the national level, your season is going to be longer than most athletes, okay? Which means you need to be very specific on your season rep count, right? If you're looking to run very fast at indoors, nationals, and you're also a national outdoor competitor, your season is going to be very long. And also what's going to happen is you're looking to perform very high, at a very high level during certain parts of this season. So for example, let's say you're a national level athlete, right? And this is your senior year. I'm going to use this extreme. Senior year, and you're saying, okay, I'm going to do indoor season, and then I want to go to a national showcase, right? New Balance, let's say. And the goal is to place top All-American. So you're going to perform throughout your regular season from December all the way through March. And then your goal is to perform high at state, which is just past weekend, which is early March, right? Late February. And then you have middle March where you're like, I want to go to nationals and perform well, running very fast. Then you're going to shut it down, gear up again for outdoor season, ramp back up again for outdoor championships, which is usually late May. And then you run very well at state. Then you're also looking to run very well in June because that's where New Balance Nationals is. And then you're on the East Coast because I'm assuming it's indoor. Then you're also going to go to AAU Nationals. AAU Nationals is the end of July, right? So now you've gone from June to July and ran very fast at very high levels, 3 parts of that season, right? Indoor, outdoor championships, and tried to maintain that for the end of July. That's a very, very long season, and it requires you to do a lot of track meets. So you look at it, if you're doing 4 events each time, right? The national championships have rounds of competition. So now you have your 4 track meets or 4 events per track meet. Let's just go with 1 track meet per week, right? Then you go to the nationals and you have these multiple rounds for the relay and I believe the 1 and 2. Then you also have this going. If that's you, I want you to do me a favor because it's going to take too long to do this, but I want you to literally write down if you did every single race that you can dream of, right? And you were to win every single one. How many races would you run? Okay? How many times would you be sprinting and put that on a calendar? Once it's on a calendar, you're able to see exactly how much trauma and stress you're putting your body through. Then ask yourself, is this the type of schedule that I want? You have your high school indoor schedule, your high school outdoor schedule, plus the events that you created that you want to do, which are the Nike indoor and all those other national championships. Those are optional, right? And you got to think about it. Typically, you can get 2 solid peaks out of your season for most training systems. You can have 1 for indoor, 1 for outdoor. But if you're trying to peak at state for your state championship and then try to ride that for another month and a half, it's very tough, right? So my biggest suggestion for that sprinter, if this is you, is to choose 1 season to focus on, right? If you're saying I'm going to do indoor season, but I really want to peak for outdoor, well, then your peak shouldn't be at state outdoor championships. Your peak should be towards the national time frame. If you're running a national winning time, then you're going to run a very solid time at state championships for your state, even at 80%, 90% of your peak performance if you're looking to be at your best in July, right? There are also times where maybe you're focusing on doing a great indoor to get seen by colleges, and then you're also doing a solid outdoor, right? It's very important that you talk to your coach. It's very important that you talk to a professional about how your schedule should look, okay? So that's for sprinters. Sprinters, it's a lot easier because you might run, I don't know, um, 12 runs in one day at practice and have a lot of reps, right? It's working on your conditioning. So you running these 4 events each week isn't that much. It's just reps, right? Now, at the high level, it becomes a little bit different, but at the end of the day, you can run that, okay? But when it comes to running and jumping, it's very important that you focus on the rep counts, right? It's even more important during the rep counts. Why? Because you now have anywhere between 4 to 6 jumps per event, okay? If you're at a full approach for, let's say, long jump, you're running 40 to 50 meters, sprinting to jump, then the impact from the actual landing, and then you're focusing on maximum effort, right? But when it comes to the sprinting group, you have the 4x1, which you run, and then you have time, 15, 20, maybe 30 minutes to sit down and relax, to warm up, do your starts again for the 100, run that, you have time, right? Reps, reps, reps. But when it comes for jumping, ideally, depending on the event, you have 10 to 15 minutes between each jump, right? And you're doing 4 to 6 jumps. If you're doing long and triple, now you're doing 8 to 12 jumps. If you're adding in high jump, there's unlimited amount of jumps for high jump because that's just the nature of the game, right? You have to jump at least 3 times is the minimum if you know height. But the reality is there's so much being taken out of your body during that time. And even triple jump takes a lot more out of your body. The jumps take more out of your body. So if your coach is having you do sprints and jumps, make sure that you're aware of your jump count because you have so many reps of running and jumping and your body's going to break down, okay? There are a lot of athletes that say, well, I want to jump, but I don't want to specialize, or I do want to specialize. It's important that you really talk to your coaches because your coaches may have a certain perspective. Maybe they didn't jump. Maybe they did the decathlon or heptathlon, and they're used to this always putting your body through the stress. Well, the hep and dec, their average numbers in high school aren't as dominant as the individual jumpers that specialize in those events. Right? Because you can have average numbers and be one of the most dominant decathlete or heptathlete, right? But when it comes to jumps, you got to be really good to be at this national level. So what I'm getting at is the concept of counting your reps, knowing how many reps you're going to potentially be doing. So again, write down your whole schedule, all of the meets that you would love to do, your dream track meets. Then look at how many reps are you doing. Then once you have that laid out, this might take a little while, then lay out your practices and how many times you're jumping during practice, right? How many reps are you doing during that time as well? How much are you going to be learning? Many times athletes go to these national track meets and they do 3 events, 4 events. And the reality is that important? Is that needed? Could you go to Nike Nationals or New Balance and just do 1 event and focus on that 1 event to see how well you perform under this high level of pressure? These are great things, right? So in this video, I don't really have a solution because there are so many different variables. But I really want you to wrap your mind around, what am I doing? Where am I going? What are my goals that I have set for myself? If you're a freshman, why is your season so long? If you're a senior, why is your season so short? Why is your season so long? Asking yourself these questions will really set you up for a better plan with more detail and a lot more intention behind that plan. It's specifically what I do for my team. Like, we know exactly how many reps we're doing, how many jumps we're doing. When we go to state, we know, okay, we have this many jumps. We need to take this many jumps and get out, right? Even if you use that philosophy of, a lot of coaches do this, is they'll have a great national level or state or regional level jumper, and they're a sprinter and jumper. And they say, let's just do a couple jumps, 1 or 2 just to win, and then have you go sprint. That's fine, right? The conflict that comes up between that is, if your body gets used to only doing 1 or 2 jumps, then you get to a national level where you need all of your jumps. You're not ready. You're not conditioned to jump well multiple times. you're not conditioned well to jump maybe one or two and then have a break. They go to finals and then jump another three more. It's your body isn't ready for it, right? You're also not in a rhythm of jumping numerous jumps back to back. So it's very important that you really understand that as well. When you're just doing one or two jumps, it's setting you up to be good at one or two jumps, and that's that. At the national level, at the state level, you're going to need all of your jumps, and sometimes you got to win each jump. So keep that in mind. I know this is probably like a very confusing topic, but the best place to start, I would say, is get your list from last year, your season from last year, if you're not a freshman, and look at how many events you did, what your times were, what your body felt like during that part of the season, if you dealt with any injuries, shin splints or whatever, and just write that out. Then look at that when you have that written down. What I'll do later on is I'll have another video that's kind of complementing this one. But if you have questions, please send me the questions. I might use your example in that video to say, okay, here's an issue, right? So I do want to say this though. There was an athlete from Oregon that reached out to me. He was a teammate of another athlete that I had out in Oregon. And he was like, I want to work with you. Right now I'm injured. And I was like, well, what's the injury? You know, he's like, oh, well, I had a foot injury. So I asked him, I was like, well, what's wrong with your foot? He's like, yeah, he had some type of stress reaction from whatever. And I was like, it's September. Like, what's going on? And he said, he's just been bugging him. So I'm like, what have you been doing since August? He sent me a workout. He had a personal trainer that worked at 24-Hour Fitness or something like that, that knew about track and field. And then he gave the athlete a workout. This kid was doing every single squat exercise, jump training, all this stuff. It was crazy. Like, honestly, one day of a workout was like 6 or 7 different exercises. And it was like at maximum effort, right? And it was like 300-pound squats. It was this crazy amount, right? And just the amount of reps he was doing in the weight room was crazy. And then it had him doing some other speed work or whatever outside the track, on the track. And I said, this is why you're hurt, because you're literally overtraining. You're doing chest one day, legs one day, back another day. It just didn't make any sense for track and field. It was a bodybuilder workout. And I was like, you're doing way too much. So he then backed off of the training. His foot healed, but by then he never really got in shape, and I didn't take him on. I couldn't take him on because, you know, it was a high risk for the brand. And I say, you know, I just don't see this kid being a good fit because you're so far into a belief system that's actually hurting you. And he just dealt with issues his whole senior year. And it's unfortunate because he was just a kid looking for support. And he just happened to find support in the wrong direction, right? So this video is just kind of like wake you up so you're not in that same situation and that you're aware of what you're doing and where you're going. So hopefully you have a great season. I know you will. If you're watching this, I'm pretty sure you're already on the right path. But start with writing down what happened last year, what your body felt like, how many reps you did for every single track meet, etc. And then we can go from there. All right, till next time.